I do not think that either one of the Republicans, and especially particularly Bush, has the best interest of black folk. So now how they can get in the same boat together and come pushing something that is not, in my estimation, is not beneficial to us, I don't understand. I keep saying it, you got to have an ulterior motive. I don't know what that is. All I know is I don't have one.
Michael Apple is a professor of curriculum and instruction at the University of Wisconsin. He believes Representative Williams is a key element in a well-funded and well-planned strategy to privatize public schools.
But if we can have it with African Americans, as an example, and it works, it incorporates the African American agenda for empowering local actors, for black people controlling the lives of their children, into the larger rightist project. And if that can be done, it is a brilliant strategy. It's a stroke of genius.
Since it's coming from an African-American woman, that backs off a lot of liberals right away. My goodness, we can't criticize this.
I don't know of any elected legislator from the city of Milwaukee or even from Milwaukee County that is an active opponent of Polly Williams' choice plan. I think you'll have a hard time finding anybody that speaks up against it.
And it gives conservatives an awful lot of populist appeal that they otherwise might not have. But in fact, it's in my judgment, a kind of a hoax.
According to Apple, conservatives have targeted Wisconsin because of its progressive history.
If you can win in Wisconsin with seemingly a populist agenda, that is, we're helping poor people take control of their lives, if you can get people to be convinced about that here, under a rubric of schools are products, they're part of this larger strategy for privatization, putting power back in the hands of consumers. If you can win here, rhetorically, ideologically, and in terms of policy, you can win almost any place.
Apple believes conservatives like Michael Joyce have put together a public relations strategy that refers to the public school system as a system of special interests and labels teachers and the teachers' unions as a monopoly that protects its own.
There's a huge reluctance on the part of the system to allow this kind of reform. And this has led, I think, to a redefinition of accountability. The school choice movement shifts accountability away from decentralized hierarchical bureaucracy and down to the level of the client or the user, the parent and the student. And I think that's where it derives a lot of its power.
Choice is about people making choices to decide what they think is the best interest of their children.
And this past spring, we provided a leadership grant to a parents organization called PAVE, Parents Advancing Values in Education. They are doing a privately funded school scholarship program for youngsters who meet certain criteria. They must live in the city of Milwaukee, and they must qualify for school lunch assistance.
Representative Williams, Michael Joyce, and the Philanthropy Roundtable are now pushing private voucher systems. Many believe private vouchers will further undermine public confidence in MPS and the public schools in general. Private vouchers are the next step down the path to privatization of public schools.
A lot of liberals in Wisconsin as elsewhere are telling themselves, well, we'll accept limited public school choice as a kind of rhetorical ammunition against vouchers. In a sense, they say, well, we'll permit this kind of choice, but we won't desert the public system. And sometimes they even say to me, we have to go that far. If we don't go that far, these conservatives will kill us, and they'll demand full-scale private vouchers in America. I say to them that that's the logic of very weak people.
I think that a lot of these organizations thought, hey, there's some money to be gained from this. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of jumped on the bandwagon, and I think they're really pushing for this. There is a lot of money to be made in choice. There's a lot of money to be made, and made by
Probably, and I'm only assuming, people who do not have children in the public school system.
As regards profit makers who want to get into the education business, it's an open question as far as I'm concerned. I would like to see a demonstration of it.
You can't produce all your goods and services that you provide by yourself. You end up contracting for some of it.
Anyone who thinks that privatizing public services will improve the lives of poor black children in the United States ought to look at the way the private banking industry functions in poor black ghettos in America. Just try to get a mortgage in the inner city of America. Anyone who thinks that privatizing the schools will help poor black children ought to look at the private health care system we have in the United States, ought to look at the skyrocketing infant mortality rates of poor black children, or look at the private grocery system in America, and look at the kind of produce that's available at what prices in inner city neighborhoods. Now, the private sector has many wonderful things going for it, but nobody in their right mind would ever claim that it has served poor people well.
What is wrong here? Why are we doing this to our children? Because where I come from, I'm from Nigeria. Children are our happiness, they are our future. For some reason, we don't see that. I always see our dollar signs saying that we've got to deny some kids some and give some kids more.
So there you have it. Privatizing tax-supported institutions, museums, zoos, airports, prisons, and schools is all the rage these days. And here in Wisconsin, there's a rage on both sides of the school choice issue, and the nation is watching. On the one hand, we have the choice advocates with their ideological agenda and their allies who see, a chance to make some money, avoid some taxes, have some power. Strange bedfellows. One can only wonder who is involved, for what reason. And on the other hand, we have people like Mr. Benson, who believe that children are our happiness and our future, and they are not just consumers to be or workers to be, although schools should prepare them for both. But is it good for them or for us if, in Mr. Benson's words, we say we got to deny some kids some, we got to give some kids more? Where's the good in that? This has been a program about power and about education, and I just happened to recall something that a famous man once said about both. He said, "I know of no safe depository for the ultimate power of society but the people themselves. And if we think them not enlightened enough to exercise power with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take power from them, but to inform their discretion by education." That's Thomas Jefferson. And I hope that as you consider this question of school choice, you will let your discretion be informed and made wholesome by Mr. Jefferson's observation. It's a matter of fact. Tell us what you think. Call 1-800-325-3881. Until next time, I'm Chuck Mitchell.